Hello and welcome to the Atlas Agency, a channel all about Arkham Horror, the card game by Fantasy Flight Games. I'm your host Brandon, and I'm just dropping in today to give a quick reaction to Fantasy Flight's newly posted announcement article for Mythos Pack number 4 in the Path to Carcosa cycle, the Pallid Mask. I'll be talking about the article's teaser for the new scenario, plus a pair of new player cards that are shown in the article. So spoiler warning for those things. I should also have probably given a disturbing product cover art warning, but I guess it's just a little too late for that. After somewhat of a long gap between the announcements for Packs 2 and 3 in the Carcosa cycle, we seem to be getting back to a normal once-a-month pace for these product announcements. The announcement for Pack 3, A Phantom of Truth, revealed that the setting for the Carcosa campaign was going to be shifting over to Paris, which was kind of a pleasant surprise. We see in this announcement that Pack 4 continues the adventure in Paris, this time with a trip to the famous Catacombs beneath the city. These catacombs are actually a real place, and I think this is actually a really great use of a real-world setting for the game. It's something we haven't seen too much of so far. We've mostly been in Arkham and Dunwich, though I guess the two standalone adventures did go to real-world cities or locations. There was a horror movie a few years ago that was called As Above, So Below, which I have not seen, but it used this same setting of the Paris catacombs, and it was actually shot on location there in the catacombs. I wonder whether that movie had any hand in inspiring this particular scenario. The preview gives a little taste of the mechanics of the scenario, and we learn that there's a unique approach to the locations in this one, and it looks pretty cool. So you have a location you start in, which I assume is always this gate to hell, the entrance to the catacombs. Then you have a deck of these catacombs locations, and when the starting location is revealed, it has you add a catacombs location above it and another below it. Don't know if that's maybe a nod to the movie that I mentioned. Each location is considered to be connected to any location that's adjacent to it, and most of the locations, when you reveal them, seem to add more locations from the catacombs deck to the map. Like, for example, stone archways, which when revealed has you add a catacomb location to the right of it, or Well of Souls, which gives you a choice of 3 different sides that you can put the new location on. So as you explore, you're building out this little labyrinth, which I think looks pretty neat. I noticed that a little later on in the announcement, there's a little talk of being lost forever in the catacombs if you fail. That might just be marketing talk, but it kind of makes me wonder if it'll be possible for characters to be killed or driven insane in this one if things don't go well. Maybe not, maybe you'll just wake up on the curb somewhere, but that's the scenario side of this pack. The later part of the announcement goes into a little detail on what to expect from the player card portion. The Pallid Mask is going to have 12 new player cards, and from the previews we've seen so far of the Carcosa Mythos packs, it seems like within each pack, the different player cards are more strongly connected to each other. By that I mean there are themes that tie the different cards in the pack together. In Dunwich, we had a few packs where I kind of saw mini themes here and there, but largely the cards in each pack felt sort of randomly collected. There were exceptions like Blood in the Altar's suite of permanents, or the high-level cards in Lost in Time and Space, but Carcosa seems to be leaning into these little themes for each pack a little more heavily. Pack 1 we saw is going to have both the suite of desperate skill cards and the suite of composures, so that's a large part of that pack taken up by suites of connected cards. Pack 2 has the patron allies, and I got the idea before that those were going to be 1 per class, but rereading that article, I'm not sure on that. There may just be the 2. That pack is also going to have treachery canceling cards for at least 2 different factions, possibly more on that. Again, it's not clear from the article whether that's going to be running across all the factions. Pack 3, we're told, has upgraded versions of a handful of core set cards. I got the sense that there'd be at least 1 of those per faction. So again, it seems like Carcosa is really going for these mini themes in each pack, and I definitely find that approach appealing, giving each pack its own distinct identity. The Pallid Mask's announcement continues that trend. We're told in this preview that the new player cards will be split between higher level versions of existing cards and also new skill cards. Then we get previews of 1 card from each of those 2 categories. Let's go ahead and talk about the previewed cards, starting with the first one, which is one of the upgrades on a prior card. This is a level 3 upgrade of the core set card Emergency Cash. The original card, you probably know, is just an event that is level 0 and gains you 3 resources. We've already had one upgraded version of Emergency Cash. That was back in Dunwich's pack number 3, Blood on the Altar. The Blood on the Altar version was level 2, and it simply added a card draw to the effect, so you got 3 resources plus a card. I was kind of down on that card when I did my Blood on the Altar spotlight. I thought it seemed like kind of a dull way to spend your experience. In the Pallid Mask, we're now getting a level 3 version of the card, and interestingly, it basically takes a completely different approach to upgrading the effect. It's almost like a different evolutionary branch. The new one says, gain 4 resources or place 4 supply tokens among assets controlled by investigators at your location, or any combination thereof. That's really interesting. We've had the card Contraband, which adds supply tokens in a very limited way for an expensive 4 resources, and this is just a much better way to recharge those supply tokens on your assets. Just looking at the cards that currently use supply tokens, the big one seems to be Strange Solution, Acidic Ichor. I'm thinking it would totally be worth 3 experience to have this and be able to top off your Strange Solution with 4 more shots. That card doesn't take up a slot, and it isn't discarded when it's at 0 supplies, so you could really afford to leave a Strange Solution that was empty sitting around until you draw this to be able to bump it back up. Just seems like a really good way for Seekers to extend their combat ability and make it last longer. I could see this being useful maybe for lockpicks as well. I like that it gives you the option of putting tokens on assets controlled by other investigators too, though it doesn't let you give them the resources. All in all, this is a pretty neat card, and it's one that I think I'm going to end up using. I like it much better than the level 2 version of Emergency Cash. Over on the skill side, our second previewed card is a new level 0 Guardian skill, Inspiring Presence. This has 1 icon of each type except for Agility, and it says if this skill test is successful, ready an ally asset at your location and heal 1 damage or 1 horror from it. I can see a place for this in a Mark Harrigan deck. This would let you get 2 uses out of a level 2 Beat Cop in a single turn, which seems fairly useful. It even healed 1 of the 2 points of damage that the Beat Cop would have to take to use its ability. Nothing else really stands out as far as allies to use this with. I guess you could use it for Duke. Instead of just discarding the card through Pete to ready him, you pass a test with this and basically get the added bonus of getting to remove a damage from Duke. Not sure if that's worth an out-of-faction slot, though this does work on another investigator's allies if they're at your location, so you could coordinate with another player on that, basically let your partner ready Duke for you, which might be kind of neat. I notice the flavor text on this one references Anderson, which would be Leo Anderson, another investigator from the Arkham Files line, who's yet to appear in the card game. That's him depicted in the art here as well. Leo is the expedition leader. I'm sure we'll see him make it to the LCG sooner or later, but it's kind of neat to have him make an early appearance here. His Eldritch Horror investigator abilities revolved around recruiting allies and pushing others to overcome challenges in wilderness spaces, and you can kind of see similar themes in this card as he's pushing your allies to go further on. So that's the announcement for the Pallid Mask. It's a pretty neat setting for an adventure. Still a ways away though. The article says this will be first quarter 2018, so I have to temper my excitement a little bit for that long wait. I hope you enjoyed this look. Until next time, thanks for watching and good luck in your investigations.